Hello Dolly Watch, it's your biggest fan, back with another video of Dolly Box, and this time it's a Dolly Box review after our first game of Gaia Project. I hope you enjoyed our unboxing video for Gaia Project where we showed you the components and such like. Now we've had our first game, I'm going to give you a little review of what we think. And the first thing to say is that we think it's very, very, very good. Now, Dolly Watch, we know that you enjoy very much the game Terra Mystica. And Gaia Project is subtitled a Terra Mystica game. And it is very much true that it is very much like Terra Mystica. We must be honest, it is a re-implementation of Terra Mystica in many ways. And it was quite familiar to us and we got into it quite quickly. And I think the things that are going to be most interesting to you really is how it is different from Terra Mystica. And these, I think, are the main ways. We still have the bonus tiles at the start of the round, but there's lots more interesting things, I think, now that you can do with them. So this symbol here is similar to getting a spade in Terra Mystica. This symbol here lets you have a bit more reach through space, so you can build your federations. We just have a couple more ways of making points on these from what we have in Terra Mystica, including these Gaia planets. These Gaia planets is what the game's all about, really. They seem to be the big new way of making points. So there you go. For every Gaia planet that you had one of your things on, you get a point. And that would have been quite good for me in this game, but unfortunately it wasn't in this round. That's probably why I lost. Here out in space, it's quite similar in the way that you form your towns in this game. They're called your federations, but rather than having bridges, you now have these satellites, which means that you can form towns over a much larger area, but you have to permanently sacrifice your power, what was called magic in Terra Mystica, from the board forever in order to build a satellite. But that's okay because the game has much more ways. In fact, I don't think Terra Mystica had any ways of getting power back into your power pools. Can we find another example? There's various examples around the boards and on the tech tracks of ways to do that. So just adds another dimension to the game, and I tell you what, Dolly Watch, it's very, very exciting. Trying to balance all those different aspects of the game. So that's what it's like out in space. That was particularly interesting in this round because the final game scoring depended on how many satellites you had built. That grey there is the neutral player that you play with in a two-player game, so you'd certainly want to beat him. You can see here that me and Kathy drew on the target for this game, which was building satellites, and on this one, which was how many different types of planet you had terraformed. But these are totally different in every game, as are the round bonuses, which are slightly similar to those in Terra Mystica. So every time in that round when you went up on your tech tracks, you got 2 points. So just like in Terra Mystica, you want to time your different developments with the best opportunities to make the points, but that is worked out during the round as you take the actions rather than at the end of the round, which I think we thought was a great improvement compared to Terra Mystica. What else can we say? Do you want to be in the video, Kathy?
No.
Kathy doesn't want to be in the video, no. Oh dear, Pablo. Oh dear. Oh dear. Leave that alone then. Look at that. We don't want the doggy eating these lovely components from the Gaia Project. So, moving on. Let's have a look at these tech tracks. Now, these work a little bit differently from the priest tracks, I think that was called, or whatever, in Terra Mystica. So, if you recall in Terra Mystica, you'd have some spots down here that would determine what type of, how far up the track you could go. Depending on if you were the first to get in, you'd get with your priest, you'd get a better jump up the track. That's gone now, and I think we like that actually, Dolly Watch, because it takes a little bit of the stress off. You know, am I going to be the first to go on that spot? You don't have to worry so much about that anymore. Now it's much more about playing your own game and moving up these tracks to gain these benefits. So these tracks are telling you much more than they used to do in Terra Mystica. Now they're telling you how much you can terraform for on this track up here. So that's your, rather than being on your player board, that's now tracked up here. You can see I didn't do very well, and that's probably why I lost, although Kathy didn't go up it much either, to be fair. This track here, how far through space you can move, so it's what used to be your shipping in Terra Mystica. Much better, this works much better now, much cleaner, more efficient, easier to understand. So this track also gives you a couple of these quantum bits. We'll talk a bit more about them in a sec, because they're super exciting as well. Now you'll remember that you were able to lock in your cities, your towns, with a key when you got to the top of these in Terra Mystica. It's slightly different now. So getting up to these higher levels allows you to build these advanced technologies similar to what you used to be able to get when you built a sanctum or whatever it was, sanctuary, and your temples and that in Terra Mystica. Now when you build your research facilities, and it's called an academy or something, that's when you get to take a tile. And you also get to go up on that track when you take them tiles. The advanced tiles, which we only really got one of them out, but I suspect they become more and more important as you get more familiar with the game. Often special ways of scoring, they come and cover up your old technologies, and they lock in there. It's super cool, that, isn't it? Lock in there, and you also have to flip one of these tiles over, which you must gain from having created a federation from its green side to its grey side in order to do that. Now you see that the highest points available for a federation does not have a green side, so that's a little bit of a sacrifice you have to make if you want them 12 points, which we needed, or certainly I did. Right, what else can we say? We're really looking for the differences with Terra Mystica, and another big one is the Gaia planet. So they weren't as important in this one as they might be, depending on the other types of scoring tiles that come out. But you can see up here, this track in particular, getting to the top of it can give you big points if you've got lots of facilities on your Gaia planets, which I really should have tried to do that. Look, you can see I failed miserably to get up the top there, and I really should have done, because I had quite a lot of facilities out on these Gaia planets. And they have an interesting alternative way of terraforming them. So rather than spending your steel, which is like your spades, or getting special actions like this one, where's it gone? Like these ones here for terraforming your planets. Instead, you can terraform your Gaia planet using this new resource, and it's a very exciting resource, and it looks really lovely, which is called quantum intelligence or something like that. We were just calling it a qubit. But so you use one of them, that lets you terraform onto you. But as well as doing that, you have to move all your magic, depending on your track that you got on over here. So it was normally 6 for me. I didn't get that 4 one in time, but you see that's 6. So move 6 of your power rather into this special green box, locking it out of use, you see, for your special powers for that round, and it would only come back in at the beginning rather of the next round. So that was quite an interesting difference. Probably can be used to much greater effect than I did. And the other way that you can terraform in these special purple planets there, you cannot go on those planets unless you've terraformed them in a special way by firstly making I think it's called the Gaia former, available to you by going up this track, like so. You see, I did that quite early on, thinking it would be great, and to be honest, it wasn't, but I thought it would be great, so I got myself one of these, came onto my board, and then you can place these onto a trans-dim planet that you can reach, and at the start of the next round, that is terraformed, takes a little bit of time, that is then successfully terraformed into Gaia. And you can then, your Gaia former will stay there until you decide to colonize it with a mine, and that's then your type of planet. So that was a very interesting addition, and a very good addition, we thought, to the game from Terra Mystica. I think the final thing to mention is these very exciting powers down here. Now, these purple ones will be quite familiar to you from Terra Mystica. The notable addition being the ability to gain more magic into into your number one power pool. Should be calling it power, not magic. It's not magic, it's not magic, it's in space. The ability to get research. I should have mentioned research is a new resource actually. Rather than using your priests, you use your research, which is tracked with your other resources up the top here. 4 research at a time lets you go up on any track. This is probably the track we should have been going up really, because although I didn't, and it's more sort of boosting your research by going up. But that's how we go up on our tracks, by putting that research down. So there's a new power, a new use for your powers to get some more of that. Familiar ones like 7 money, 2 steel, or ore, or whatever it is that replaces your workers from Terra Mystica. But you'll see on the board many ways of getting this resource called, well, we call it qubits. It's quantum or something silly like that. But these lovely green translucent cubes with a little nick taken out of them. And bloody lovely them. They look really good and they feel lovely as well. And as well as being involved in terraforming your Gaia planets and being at the top of the hierarchy for your anytime powers that are shown over here, you can always spend a qubit, for example, to temporarily gain the ability to move 2 steps further through space when you're doing your colonising and all that. These 3 powers over here are very, very interesting, and as the game went on we realised just how important they are. So I'll explain them to you just quickly. So this one here, spend 2 qubits and you cover it up. It was very blocky. Kathy really made me sad when she blocked me on that one in the final round. That gives you 3 points plus a point for every different type of planet that you have terraformed. And you can see at the end of the game how many points that can be making you. So it's quantum production engines, such as you can get that space there to get you some more. Kathy's race was quite good at producing it as well from their special power. Lots of points available. Very, very exciting, and just another thing to think about, another layer and another path to go down in terms of your point production. This one here for 3 quantum pieces was another very, very good one, which allows you to take the bonus you got from one of your federations, whether it's been flipped or not, and have it again. You have it again, and you can do it multiple times. Very, very, very powerful, especially if you're doing it on the 12 pointers, which I did at one point. Wasn't quite enough to catch me up though. As you can see, still lost by a good 11 points there. But I'd have been absolutely destroyed if I hadn't gone on that in the final round. So very useful, interesting spot. And finally, this one here allows you to take any technology tile or advanced technology tile. Now, you still have to meet the normal conditions of being within one space of the technology tile and having a normal technology tile in order to take it and plug it into. But I would imagine that we didn't use it very much, but I would imagine it becomes, looking at its cost, a very, very important space for getting your maximum scores as you get more familiar with the game. I certainly would think so. So that's all the differences, I think, most important differences. And as I say, it's really about comparing it with Terra Mystica. Now, I think we're still going to enjoy playing Terra Mystica, but it has to be said, Gaia Project, it fixes so many of the little niggles that we might have had about Terra Mystica. It makes it a much more smoothly playing game, and there's a lot more going on, must be said, a lot more routes to victory, and a fascinating game, because as you can see, Kathy and I focused on very different routes. Kathy very much on these qubits. Look at that, look how many bloody qubits she got off that. Whereas I went up on the this track here, which wasn't so great, I must say. Plenty economic route that perhaps I should have focused on here. So all these different options, all these different routes to victory, and yet, you know, as in any well-designed game, it still came down to quite a close one at the end. Just a couple of the final scoring being a bit different, and it could have been anyone's game. Now, the variability is much greater in Terra Mystica as well. I do have the opinion of Terra Mystica that there's a bit of an obvious way to get the maximum scores. You know, you've really just got to focus on getting your dwellings down during the right round, getting your trading posts down in the right round, and building your sanctuaries and your big temple, whatever it is, building at the right time. And you know, and you're going to maximise your score really by doing that. In this game, it's not so much. There's so many different options. and you've got to look at the conditions and piece together the best route for you at any given time. There's much more diversity in your options in this game than in Terra Mystica, and I think that is a massive improvement over Terra Mystica. And not only that, but the diversity and the variability of the setup as well. So these could have ended up in any spot. That could have been over there, that could have been there, this one could have been up here, and that would have completely changed which tracks would have been the most efficient for you to focus on. In addition to the endgame parameters being different every game, and the round scoring tiles being different every game, and the bonuses being different every game, and your bloody race being different every game. It's unbelievable the amount of replayability I think we will find in this game, and it's such a delight to play, such a delight to look at. I think we'll be playing this for many, many years to come. So, Dolly Watch, I hope you enjoyed our little review of Gaia Project, which is highly recommended, and tune in next time for another episode of Dolly Box. Bye-bye.